Hello, this is David Lynch here, coming from you from my home. Um, I'm speaking to you because I have a new project, a couple of new projects actually. Hollywood is in a very bad shape recently. Very bad. Nobody's going to their movies anymore, and when they go to them, they suck. And it's just in a bad situation. And the movies that people are watching, they're watching them on their phones. Their phones. So it's very bad, and they need someone to come in and get them in a good way. And they need visionaries. But nobody's coming to task. And so I got a phone call from Hollywood saying, David, you're very respected and liked, and we think you might have a shot at setting things right. So we're going to give you your choice of franchises where you can reboot them and make them work again. So I said, okay, what do you need help on? And they said, well, anything. Star Wars, Star Trek, James Bond, Alien, Predator, DC, Marvel, Terminator. And I said, stop. That gives me enough to work with. So I think I'll start with Terminator. And I don't need a big budget. I don't need any big name Hollywood actors, because the way I'm going to reboot this franchise, I'm going to tell you a story, because that's all what movies are. They're telling a story. So here I go. This is David Lynch's Terminator. Okay, sometime in the near future, things are very bad. There's robots, killer robots, who are big and metal and scary. But there's some humans left over. And among these humans is this tough guy. His name is John Connor. And John Connor does something really weird. He says, I'm going to choose this guy who's younger than me, to be my father. The guy's named Kyle Reese, and I'm going to send Kyle back to 1984 to be with my mother, and he'll become my father. And that doesn't make a lot of sense when you first think about it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it for a while either. But in the context of the reality of the movie, it makes perfect sense. So he sends Kyle back. Kyle goes back, meets his mother, meets John Connor's mother, and the two get together, and she ends up having John. But also, to throw a wrench in the system, into John Connor's plans, the robots, these are killing machines, but they still have the capacity to think. They send back they send back a time traveler of their own, another robot. But this robot is disguised as a man, a very big and tough man. And he's very scary, and he speaks with an Austrian accent. So this Kyle Reese, who's the father of John Connor, doesn't have a chance of beating this robot man from Austria and the future. An Austria of the future. So they get in a big scrabble. They end up running for their lives, but this robot is relentless. He kills an entire division of policemen just to get to him, because he wants to kill Sarah, that's John's mother, before she has John. That means John Connor will not be born, and the robots will live in peace and harmony in a future utopia without humans. That's their plan, at least as far as I can gather. You know, their plan somewhat makes more sense than the humans, because the humans are like, okay, this guy who's younger than me, he's going to go back in 84 before I was born and be my father. But oh well. Moving on, even though John Connor is no match for the big giant killer robot from Austria, he nevertheless is able to protect Sarah long enough, and he sacrifices himself and ends up getting killed because, as I said, he's no match for the Austrian killer robot human hybrid. But it doesn't matter, because by then he's already become the father of John, and the only one who matters now is Sarah, because she's carrying John. At least she will in the near future. And like a badass, she ends up killing the big giant Austrian robot, and she drives toward the future, and a storm, both a literal and a figurative storm, she drives towards it, and that's the end. And that is my reboot of the Terminator, without all the big budget, the big special effects. It's just the story, the characters, and the themes. That's all you need. So I think that's really good. It was really good. I ended up, doing it really good. So I think there could be possible David Lynch reboots in the future if Hollywood were to come knocking on my door, as if they were satisfied with my Terminator. And that's the end. I'm going to go cook some quinoa. Oh, wait a minute. I guess I do need an after credit mid scene that sets up a sequel. Okay. Sarah Connor, when she's cooking formula for little baby John, she overheats it, and since this is the 80s, the oven gets overheated, and it melts. It melts into liquid metal. And before we cut, the leftover melted oven starts morphing back together into another scary man. But this scary man will be no match for the killer Austrian robot, who will come back friendly this time and befriend John Connor. The end.